Welcome back to the next video. In today's video I will show you how to perform background operations for Android inside your Godot game app or Godot game. So what are background operations? So background operations are something like, suppose your app is completely closed, not even in background, then also you can perform some kind of operations like calling an API, uploading a file to a server, downloading game assets, those kind of operations. So we'll see that. We'll create a plugin for it, and here I have written some cheat sheet for it as well. So first of all I will show you the output. So in the output what I exactly am doing is once the my Godot game is installed, I am triggering a background operation. Now when the background operation will trigger will completely depend on the Android OS. We can't really control it. It can happen at any time. But I am firing a one-time request, and typically I have noticed, like, at least in development, like, it fires pretty quickly, but again you can't take that for guarantee. So what I'll do is I will run my app, I will immediately close it, and in the background it makes an API call, and it stores that API data inside a preferences data store. So preferences data store is a library in Android where you can store key value data pair. But if you want to store large amount of data, I have also done a video for Godot on how to store large amount of data inside a room database, which is kind of like SQLite for Android. So if you want you can use that, but just for simplicity's sake I am using preferences data store. So I'll just run my app. Currently I don't have the app installed, and in this video I am using in this video I will show you one-time request, but in future I will also show you how to do periodic kind of work request or background operation as well. So one-time request is like, I install the app, the work manager has enqueued my background operation, I have closed the app completely, and it will run at some point of time. That's it, the job is done. Once it has completed successfully. If it has failed, we can retry the operation as well. I have written code for that as well. But until the user opens the app the second time, the background operation won't be enqueued. So this is the difference between one time and periodic. I will make a video on periodic as well in the future, but by the time you watch this video, I think that would also be available on my YouTube channel. So currently the app is getting installed. But by that time what you can do is you can open Android Studio, create an Android project. It can be an empty views project or a Jetpack Compose project. Also I will show you the logcat as well once the app is installed. Okay, so the app is installed. I think it is still loading. I think it takes a. So here you can see the app is installed. I will immediately close my app. I have closed the app completely. Okay, I'll go back. Now we just have to follow the logs. Like, I have added an artificial delay of 20 seconds so that the background operation does not fire immediately as soon as the app is opened. But again, background operation is decided by the OS. We can't really we can't really trigger it. We can just enqueue it or tell the OS, okay, run my background operation. I'm not sure if the logs will get printed because this is not a native Android app, right? I mean, this is a Godot app, right? Even though it is a native app, I'm not really sure if the logs will be printed or not, because in my plugins I have printed the log. Let's just wait for a few seconds. If the logs are not even printed, that's fine. We'll run the app again and you should see that it has called an API, it has stored the data in preferences data store, and it has and the next time, okay, I think the logs have been printed, hopefully. So yes, so here I was printing the title. So here this title should be available inside our app once I try to rerun it, or I try to reopen the app. So I will just rerun the app again, and you should see this title inside our app immediately, because that is already stored inside my preferences data store, right? And I'm once the Godot plugin has been initialized, I'm immediately checking my preferences data store, okay, whether there is some data inside my preferences data store or not. If yes, then immediately send that data back, and then here it enqueues a separate work request. So hopefully it should get installed anytime now. I'll just delete these logs for now by the time Godot is still installing. Like the Godot editor gets hanged up if whenever you are trying to install it on a real device. Hopefully so anytime now. Sorry, I'm not going to edit this out because editing takes a lot of time. So here you can see my app is still loading, and here you can see this is the title. I know the text is getting out, but I have displayed the title inside a toast message as well. Yeah, but you can easily figure out that label part, like the label is going out, but that's not the point of this video. So yeah, let's get started. So firstly, create an Android project using Android Studio. It can be an empty views project or a Jetpack Compose project, doesn't really matter. Then go to this Android drop down. You will have to right click, new module, select Android library, give your library some name. I have already given it as my library, but you can give a better name, give some package name, click finish. I have already created that, so I won't create one more. Next you will have to go to Android manifest first go to create this file called demo API. So here I am using an open source API, and this is how you call an API from the native Android side. Oh sorry, before that I need to show it this part to you, sorry about that. So first install add this is a Godot dependency. Next, this is a work manager dependency which helps us to do background operations. And here I'm adding retrofit, which is a HTTP networking library to call REST APIs in native Android. This is a data store for storing normal key value data, and I also need coroutines, which is like background threads for Kotlin. Over here I don't think I have added anything. Okay, next you can create this demo API. So this is an interface. So apart from your base URL, everything is present over here. So this is how you make a get request, and the response is this post. And if you see my post object, it has a user ID, title and body. I'm just making use of the title part, but this can be anything. Okay, next we'll have to create this my preferences.kt, and this is for storing key value data. So here you can see I have created a method called save string data, get string data, and this is a singleton which I'm trying to define over here. Okay, next you will have to create a network module class. So here this is my base URL for my API, so which you can pass over here. Here we are creating an HTTP client, we are creating a converter factory, we are creating a retrofit instance, and we are creating an API service. So this is how it is. Next you will have to create this custom worker class. So here this is the main class where you will define what work you want to perform. So here you can see I'm extending from coroutine worker, and this is the method where you can define your own logic. So what I'm doing here is I'm calling my API. Once I get an API successful, I am logging it to the console, then I'm storing it inside my preferences data store, which you can see over here, and I'm giving the success message back. In case of failure, I'm retrying it, and in case suppose the user does not have network connection and the OS decides to trigger your background operation, then I'm trying to do a retry as well. But there is a better thing called constraint, like which I will show you in a bit. Like what constraints does is you can define a constraints like only when there is proper network connection, then run my background operation. So I will show you that in a bit, and in case of failure I'm just returning a failure back. Okay, so I have shown you this. Next, go to my application.kt, and here we have to define an application class. Like this is boilerplate code which you have to write for initializing work manager. So that's what I have done over here, and this custom worker factory is required to initialize our custom worker class which we have created over here. Now there might be few people who have knowledge of native Android might be pointing out that this is an extremely bad practice of initializing classes. We should use something like dagger hilt. But the problem is that making use of dagger hilt in this Godot plugin side is extremely painful. Like I have tried it, I couldn't get it to work. That's why I'm manually creating objects of my class. but if you have a better way, do let me know in the comments. If you want to learn about Dagger hilt, you can watch my native Android video where I have used this exact same example of work manager, but I'm instantiating everything using Dagger hilt and not manually. Anyways, next you will have to create this Godot Android plugin, and here we are extending from Godot plugin as well as lifecycle owner. Here this is for my preferences data store. Here we are initializing the lifecycle because we require the lifecycle scope. This is my plugin name. You can write anything over here, but make sure you remember your plugin name because that will be used many a times later on in this video. On Godot setup complete, I am initializing my preferences data store. Here I am registering a signal so that I can send back data from this native Android to my Godot side from my preferences data store. And once this do work method is called from the Godot side, here you can see that I'm forget about this one for now. Here you can see I'm initializing our one-time request. This set initial delay, you can comment it out. This was just part of development purpose so that I can add a delay so that our background operation only starts after 20 seconds. Again, the background operation can start at any point of time. It depends on the Android OS, but just to show you guys that I can immediately put the app in background, that's why I had added this initial delay, but you should comment it out. Next, I have added a backoff criteria and I have allowed the build method. I'm not sure why I'm enqueuing this twice. Sorry, this is a mistake from my part. You need to enqueue it only once. Okay, and so this is how we are telling the OS, okay, go and run my background operation whenever you feel like. And here I am retrieving the data. If you want to retrieve data in some separate method, you can create a separate method as well, but yeah, I'm just retrieving it in the same method. And here once we have some data inside this preferences data store, I am sending it back to the Godot side. Now coming back to the constraints, so here you can add a constraint something like this: if network type is network connected, then only run my background operation, and you can uncomment this out. There are other types of constraints as well, like if I do this set require charging, require battery not low, all this kind of stuff. If you are curious, you can add this to your own project. So yeah, that's it for on this Godot setup. Next, you will have to go to Android manifest. You will have to add this internet permission because we are making an API call. Next, I have copied this from the documentation. The thing which you have to add is this should be your plugin name, so whatever plugin name you have defined, and this should be your own package name. So if you want to know where your package name is, so this is your package name. Next, here you will have to add this extra bit of code for initializing of work manager, which I have just copied it from the Android docs. Okay, let's see what else next we have to do. Okay, so we have next, what you will have to do, you will have to go to this project drop down, sorry, not packages, project, go to your library, create a folder called export scripts template. Inside that, create a file called export underscore plugin.jd, and again I have copy pasted this from docs. Only thing change is this will be your plugin name, and you will also need to add this extra bit of function because we are adding extra dependency inside our build.gradle, so you all have to reference all these dependencies over here. So this is for work manager, this is for retrofit, this is for JSON, this is for preferences data store, this is for coroutines, and we also need to reference this lifecycle runtime, even though we haven't added it inside build.gradle. So yeah, these all dependency you need to add it. Next, you will also have to create another file called plugin.cfg. again I have copy pasted it from docs. This should be your plugin name. You can change the description and author to whatever you feel like. Next, what I'll do is you will have to go to your Godot project, sorry, not Godot, to your Android project, open terminal, cd to your Android project, not to your library, and you will have to run this command. I'll show you that command as well, this one, .gradle /gradle wassemble. Once you run this command, if you go to Android project, go to your library, build, outputs, AAR, and here you should see two AAR files. I have already copied those files to my Godot project, that's why you are not seeing it over here. Next, you will have to create a Godot project, so I have created it. Inside that, create a folder called add-ons. Inside that, create a folder with your plugin name. Then inside that, create a folder with bin, and inside bin you will have to create two folders, debug and release. Now you will have to copy the debug AAR file from your Android library to this debug folder, and similarly for release as well. So I will go to my Godot project, add-ons, my plugins, bin, debug, and here you can see I've copied the debug AR file to debug folder, but you will have to rename it to whatever your plugin name is. So my plugin name is just my plugin-debug.ar. Similarly for release as well, my plugin-release.ar. Next, you will also have to copy these two files, export plugin and plugin.cfg, to this my plugin folder. So I have already copied those two as well. So yeah, next you will have to go to project, install Android build template. I have already done that. Let's go to project, click on export, click add Android. Then here you will have to add use Gradle build. Click fix import. There might be some error at the bottom, and here you can add whatever architecture your Android device is running on. If you don't know, select all four. And I would also add that make sure you add some unique package name to your Android app, so that you can easily see these logs from Android Studio. So this is not my plugin package name or my Android project package name, this is my Godot games package name. So you can easily see the logs if you want to see any logs, not necessary. Then also you will have to update the HDK to 34, because the Gradle libraries which we are using are targeting 34, but Godot at this time of recording still target HDK 33. So you will have to update it to make sure you just do it 34. Maybe in future Godot will update it to HDK 34, so you won't have to do anything. Also you will have to go to this Android build folder. I will show you. Go to your Godot project, go to Android build, and here you will have to open config.gradle. I have already opened it. Also make sure you are using 34 over here. 24 is fine. I think this should be 34, and build tool should be 34 as well. Okay, next you will have to go to project settings, go to plugins, and select make sure you enable this as well. Make sure you enable this as well. Make sure you enable this. Next, what you next you have to add this editor. So here I have added a label over here, and here you can next I have added a label over here, and here you can see that inside my script what I have done is that I have just copy pasted this I'll show you this. So this is our script. So I have added script to my project. I am referencing my label. This should be your plugin name, and here I am initializing our plugin. I have called this test signal, and here I am calling this do work method, which we have defined it on the Android plugin side, and here we are just getting the signal from native Android plugin. So yeah, I think that should be it. If you want, if this is your first time, you have to add debug key as well as Android HDK part 2 editor settings as well. And also make sure if you want to do Wi-Fi remote debugging, you can do that as well. So yeah, that's it. Thank you for watching. Bye.